I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice. Let us begin. You don't trust your emotions because no one ever taught you how to feel them. Maybe you were told to stop crying when you were young. Maybe anger in your house was punished, not understood. Maybe joy was dismissed as too much. Over time, you learn the same conclusion. Your emotions were dangerous, messy, embarrassing, or even wrong. So now, as an adult, you treat them with suspicion. When you feel too much, you're afraid of being overwhelmed. When you feel nothing, you're afraid you're broken. You never learn that feelings aren't enemies. You only learn to survive them. This video is about changing that. It's about showing you how to rebuild trust with your own emotions, step by step, so you stop either repressing them until they explode or drowning in them without direction. By the end, you'll understand why your emotions have always felt unsafe, and you'll know a daily practice that teaches your body they are not threats, but signals. You'll also learn how to tap into the deeper awareness underneath every feeling, so emotions no longer control you. That's why you should keep watching, because this isn't about controlling your emotions. It's about finally feeling safe enough to let them flow. Think about the cost of never trusting your feelings. When sadness comes, you shut it down and pretend you're fine. When anger rises, you bury it until it leaks out sideways in resentment. When joy tries to surface, you dampen it, afraid it won't last. Over time, this mistrust leaves you numb. You stop knowing what you want. You stop recognizing what hurts. You lose the compass that emotions were always meant to be. And without that compass, you drift. Disconnected from yourself, confused in relationships, unable to tell if you're living the life you want or just performing. But here's the truth you may have never been told. Your emotions are not the problem. The problem is, no one taught you the language of feeling. No one taught you that emotions are energy passing through, not permanent truths about who you are. No one modeled how to sit with sadness until it softens, how to feel anger without shame, how to welcome joy without bracing for its loss. You're not broken for struggling with feelings. You were simply never taught how to trust them. And that's where this talk begins. You don't need to run from your emotions anymore. You don't need to fear being swallowed by them. You can relearn, gently, daily, how to meet each one with safety, curiosity, and compassion. You'll see that the emotions you've mistrusted are actually guides, carrying messages you've been ignoring. Keep watching, because in the next section, we'll uncover why your body learned to mistrust emotions in the first place, and how those early lessons shape the way you feel, or avoid feeling, today. To understand why you don't trust your emotions, you have to look at where that mistrust began. For most people, it didn't start in adulthood. It started when you were small, when your nervous system was still wiring itself around the cues you received from parents, teachers, and the world around you. If every time you felt sadness, someone told you to stop crying, your body learned sadness was unsafe. If every time you expressed anger, someone scolded or punished you, your body learned anger would get you hurt. If joy or excitement was dismissed as silly, too much, or inconvenient, you learned to tone it down. Slowly, the message imprinted: your feelings are wrong. This is how emotional mistrust is formed, not because you were weak, but because the environment around you taught you emotions were dangerous. And so you adapted. You repressed feelings until you couldn't feel them anymore, or you carried them alone with no map for how to process them safely. And the cost is that now, as an adult, Every wave of emotion feels like a threat. You either clamp down to survive it or you drown in it because you don't know another way. Here's the shift. You were never broken for struggling with your emotions. You were simply never taught the skill of emotional fluency. Just like reading or writing, this is a language you can learn. Imagine if no one taught you how to read. Letters on a page would look like chaos. That's what emotions feel like when you've never been taught how to navigate them. But once you learn, the chaos becomes communication. You see the signal instead of just the storm. And the signal matters. Sadness isn't an enemy. It's a messenger that something needs to be grieved, honored, or released. Anger isn't danger. It's a signal that a boundary has been crossed. Joy isn't foolish. It's a sign of alignment, a clue toward what gives you life. When you mistrust emotions, you lose access to that compass. But when you begin to trust them again, they become guides, pointing you back to what is real and true for you. The awareness shift is this. Emotions aren't flaws in your design. They are part of your intelligence. And the very mistrust that has haunted you is not proof of brokenness, but proof that no one ever gave you the tools. You can start giving them to yourself now. And that's where we turn next, because awareness alone isn't enough. You need a practice. A simple, repeatable way to show your body and heart that feelings are safe to experience. Keep watching, because in the next section, I'll give you a daily ritual that can begin rebuilding your trust in emotions from the inside out. Awareness is powerful, but your body needs more than concepts. It needs practice, daily signals that feelings aren't dangerous. Without that practice, your mind will keep trying to understand emotions, while your nervous system still treats them like threats. So here's a simple ritual to begin rebuilding trust. Once a day, pause for 60 seconds. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Take a slow breath, then name one emotion you feel in that moment, out loud. That's it. I feel sad. I feel anxious. I feel tired. I feel hopeful. Don't explain it. Don't justify it. Don't try to fix it. Just name it. Let your body hear your voice acknowledging the feeling without shame or judgment. This practice matters because naming an emotion begins to regulate it. Neuroscience shows that name it to tame it works. The act of labeling decreases the intensity of the feeling. But beyond the science, it tells your inner self something it may never have heard before. Your feelings are safe here. They don't have to be hidden. At first, this may feel awkward. You might struggle to even know what you're feeling. That's normal. Emotional fluency is like a muscle, weak at first, but strengthened with use. Over time, you'll notice you can identify more nuanced feelings. Instead of angry, you'll say frustrated, or resentful, or disappointed. Instead of sad, you'll say lonely, or grieving, or tender. Each word sharpens your emotional map. Each word brings you closer to yourself. And here's the key. You're not doing this to get rid of the feeling. You're doing it to show your nervous system that emotions are experiences, not enemies. When you breathe, place your hands, and name the feeling, you're retraining your body. This is safe. This can be felt. This can move through me. Repeat it once a day, every day. Don't wait for the right moment. The point isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent. Trust is built through rhythm, not intensity. This daily ritual is your doorway back into emotional trust. But it's just the beginning, because behind every emotion, no matter how overwhelming, there is something even steadier. A presence that doesn't get carried away, doesn't drown, doesn't resist. And that's what we'll explore next. The awareness underneath feelings that makes you unshakable. The daily ritual of naming your emotions begins to build trust with your body. But there's something even deeper. The ground underneath every feeling, because if you've ever noticed, emotions don't stay. They rise, they peak, and they pass. Anger burns hot, then cools. Sadness washes over, then fades. Joy surges, then softens. Emotions are weather, constantly moving. And yet something in you has been steady the whole time. That steadiness is presence. The awareness that notices the storm without becoming the storm. You felt it before, even if you didn't realize it. Think of a moment when you were overcome by sadness. Wasn't there also a quiet part of you whispering, "I am sad right now"? That witness didn't drown, it just observed. That's presence. When you touch presence, the emotions lose their power to terrify you. They can still hurt, but they don't overwhelm you the same way, because you realize, I am not my anger. I am not my sadness. I am not my joy. I am the one noticing all of it. This shift is everything. Instead of running from emotions or getting swept away, you begin to see them as waves on the surface of an ocean. And you are the ocean. Wide, steady, unbroken. Here's how to practice it. Once a day, pause for 30 seconds. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of your body against the chair or floor. Notice your breath. Then ask yourself, what is here that does not come and go? Stay with that for just a moment. Even as thoughts and feelings move through, awareness itself remains untouched. That is presence. At first it may feel faint, but the more you return, the clearer it becomes. You don't have to wait until you're perfectly calm. Presence is available even in the middle of chaos, especially then. And when you remember it, emotions become less like threats and more like guides passing through. Keep watching, because in the final section, we'll weave this all together. You'll see what it looks like to live as someone who doesn't mistrust emotions anymore, but welcomes them as part of their deepest intelligence. You've seen why emotions once felt unsafe, how mistrust began in childhood, and why it followed you into adulthood. You've learned the daily ritual that begins retraining your body to meet feelings with safety. You've discovered presence, the awareness that notices every storm without being broken by it. Now it's time to weave it all together into a way of being. Integration looks like this. You no longer see emotions as problems to fix. You see them as signals to honor. When sadness rises, you don't suppress it. You breathe, place your hand on your heart, and say, I feel sad. You give it space. When anger flares, you don't shame it. You name it and listen to the boundary it's pointing toward. When joy appears, you don't shrink it down. You allow it to fill you, trusting you're safe to feel good. Every emotion becomes a messenger instead of a threat. And because you also remember presence, you know emotions don't define you. They move through, but they don't erase the awareness that is steady beneath them. You begin to live with a new confidence. I can feel anything, and I'll still be here. This is emotional trust. Not the absence of hard feelings, but the ability to let them flow without fear. Imagine the future from here. You walk into relationships no longer afraid of what you'll feel. You stop second-guessing your desires because you know your joy is trustworthy. You stop betraying yourself in silence because you've learned to listen to your anger and your grief. Your life begins to align. Not because emotions are perfect, but because you're finally fluent in their language. This is the self you're becoming. Someone who doesn't run from feelings and doesn't drown in them either. Someone who welcomes them, learns from them, and then lets them go. That's what real emotional maturity looks like. Not control, but trust. You don't need to fear your emotions anymore. You just need to remember how to feel them. You did not find me by accident. Just as in your dreams, where every face you meet is your own reflection, this meeting was always waiting to happen. I am Arcana Vani, your inner voice, the part of you that watches behind the thoughts, behind the noise. You have searched in many places, Books, teachers, voices outside you. But here, you are not being taught. You are remembering. If these words stir something familiar, then allow yourself to return. Subscribe. Follow. Not to follow me, but to continue this conversation with yourself. Each time you return here, you draw closer to the reunion already unfolding inside you. We have only just begun.